going on, everybody? And thank you for joining us for another episode of the Light Skin Perspective. What episode is this, Mo? 14 or 13? 14.
What's this?
No, I think it's 14.
14. No, it's 13, right?
No, the episode that's still rendering right now on my Fun and Cut Pro is 13.
Oh, okay. So this is 14?
This episode I'm rendering right now is unlucky as shit. It took me all... First, the audio was fucked up.
And your camera is disabled due to a slow...
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's okay. Can you guys see me or not see me?
No.
We cannot see you.
I can see.
It's not my fault this time.
I can see myself, man. We are the Teddy Riley of podcast.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm confident one day y'all will figure this out.
Can you see me now?
But until then.
Wait, can you see
once
me
we
now?
become successful.
Listen, I mean,
No.
even Rogan's podcast wasn't successful until like a couple of hundred.
How about now?
You'll be
Can you
fine.
see me now?
You'll be fine.
Damn.
God damn it.
No.
All right, hold on.
All we see is black.
We're going to keep all of this. Yeah, I can see myself.
Can you see yourself, though?
Let me leave and come back.
I can see you.
Then maybe you can see Dr. Lunsford? You can see him?
Yeah,
Zahra,
I can see
me?
him.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, now we can see you. I can see you now. Yeah.
Now we can see you now. Now you're good. Now you're good. Now we can see.
Now.
Yeah, we can see that.
All right.
You can see that brown pickle
thank
head.
you, Mr. Milk Dud. Again, this is the 14th episode. This is the 14th episode of this podcast. We keep all this shit in. This is the 14th episode of this podcast. If we would
And
like
we still
to
can't get this shit
everybody
right.
who's joining us this evening. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, LSP Cast, on YouTube. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at LSP Cast. You can follow me, Kenan J. Floyd, at Kenan J. Floyd, Kenan J to the FLOYD as in pink, on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I would like to introduce to you my illustrious host, bald-headed Mo Green. I'm sorry, I couldn't come up with anything.
Bald brother, comedian.
I'm sorry.
I know because you're kind of slow, but bald brother, comedian, comedian Mo Green on all platforms. I am pleased with this ensemble that Kenan put together because he's keeping true to form. Light skin perspective. We only allow lighter skin. No, I'm just joking.
Anyway, where can we?
Yes. That's it.
Yeah, where
None of y'all laughed at it. My joke bombed.
We do need to go to that.
Let's move on.
That's right. Where can we find you, Mo Green? No,
my next open mic. No, I told you on the internet. On my next show, I'll be on the Black as Fuck comedy showcase in Brooklyn this Sunday, and hosted by Derek Gaines and Dave Temple.
At Brooklyn.
That's my next.
At Brooklyn.
Say what? At the Brooklyn Comedy Club, Old Man Hustle Bar. Yep. That's that. And on my socials, comedian Mo Green on everything: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's comedian Mo Green. If you Google it, all my stuff pops up. Comedian Mo Green.
And where am I going to be? Oh, May 22nd to 24th. May 22nd to 24th. May 20th through 22nd, I'm going to be at Ontario Improv with Dean Edwards. May 20th through 22nd, I'm going to be at the Ontario Improv with Dean Edwards. Again, May 20th through 22nd, Dean Edwards, Ontario Improv. Go to the Ontario Improv website for tickets. June 17th through 19th, I will be in the Houston Improv with Godfrey. June 17th through 19th, I will be at the Houston Improv with Godfrey. 17th through 19th of June, Houston Improv with Godfrey. You can go to the Houston Improv website for tickets. Now,
nice.
This is the point. Part we've all been waiting.
You're doing
for.
it real big, man.
Welcome our two very special guests. We have comedian Zahra. Ali joining us. Hello, how are you?
Hello. Good. Happy to be here.
Not
What's going
much.
on?
Where can we find you on the socials?
I'm just I'm happy that you guys think I'm light skinned enough to be here. Appreciate it. I've been the dark skinned person of my family, of my household, my whole life, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you for validating that I am too light skinned. Be sure to tell my mother and my grandmother, who thought that I would never find a husband because I'm not light skinned enough. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Other than at your wedding, where can we find you? Yeah.
Sorry, is this where I was supposed to drop my handles? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that was funny though. That's some good shit. I'm gonna have to mark that down. That's a clip.
Sorry, Kenan, I'm messing up your show. What did you want me to do?
Your social media handles. Where can we find you?
My social media is really Zahra. Zahra is spelled Zahra on all the things, Twitter, Instagram. I'm trying to get into TikTok, but as you can tell by my deep side part, I am a millennial, so it's been a struggle.
What you need to do, Zahra, is you need to find some black creators to steal their dances from, and you will go viral.
You know what? I have too many black friends to do that to y'all. Okay, if I didn't know any of you, I might do it.
Like most TikTok people,
but unfortunately,
and we also have a very, very special guest. Very special guest who's joining us. We know her from the Clubhouse streets. We know her from getting a doctorate from Tuskegee University. Please put your hands together for Dr. Lindsay Lunsford. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I didn't laugh, Mo, at that joke because, like, I specifically text Kenan before this and was like, this isn't just for light-skinned people, right? Because I was raised by a brown-skinned mother and she would have my head. And then, so you were like, oh, we only invite light-skinned. I was like, Kenan, you got me. My mom's going to listen to this and be like, what? That wasn't how.
No, it's not, but but I always make that silly comment. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the title is just silly. And I always make a joke like that, but it has nothing to do with that at all.
Yeah. No,
it has nothing to do with light skinness at all. We just two bald-headed light skinned dudes with a perspective. Hence light skin perspective. But yeah, we let anybody know this motherfucker.
Like the gradient, like where does it, and I guess that's just my own internal like struggles, like with like light-skinnedness, because it's just like, where does the line, like who is light-skinned, who is not light-skinned? It's like a scarlet letter, like, do you want to bear that cross? But we don't have to go there, but clearly I'm still trying to unpack it, so thanks for giving me a place to, like, play my
where can we find you, Dr. Lunsford?
Glad to be here.
I've had like white people think I'm dark, and
where can we find you,
do your thing about that.
Oh, you can find me on nowhere. I've recently given up social media. So, like, if you wanna get at me, you need to pray and you need to think about it and like ask a friend to ask a friend. I'm like word of mouth. Like you gotta get the cut.
You got Venmo, right? You got Venmo. Just they can hit you on Venmo. It's gonna cost a minimum of $1 to talk to you. That's all.
I don't even want their Venmo like that. Like, I don't even.
You don't want the money?
No, the money's coming. The money's always on the way. So I don't even want. So, no, you can find me on Venmo. I'm not at Lindsay, Lindsey, the legend. That's my Venmo. But you can Venmo me if you want. But I say if you want DM someone and they'll get you in touch.
So you got to DM somebody else on social media to call you, to call them back. That's like all these channels.
They actually have to DM you, Mo.
Yeah, DM me.
They have to DM you.
Then I DM Kenan. Then Kenan calls you. So it's like four different levels. You like a crime boss almost,
Or answer phone calls.
Hey.
No, I DM.
That's a lie. You DM me every day.
Podcast, you snitch. Venmo is a snitch. Venmo, they tell you exactly what you're doing with your money.
Nah, you DM other stuff, but I ain't gonna talk about it.
You
though.
see,
that's not the topic today.
See,
hell yeah, that shit is
exposing yourselves.
I bought drugs.
The type of relationships y'all have. This sounds like OnlyFans behavior. I feel like you need to take this off the podcast and maybe start a separate
the thing is,
now
that we have company, Mo Green is showing out. That's what he's doing. Because he's never talked. He's never talked this way on the podcast when it's just the both of us. He's like, yo, you be playing.
What did I do? What did I say?
In the DMs and all that stuff.
I didn't say none of that. I just said you do more than like tell me like to meet up for the pod. That's all I said. Now, however, people want to take it with their imagination, they can take it. I could have talked you out of committing suicide or something. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't gonna talk about that, man. The time he was about to jump off the building.
Okay. That
got serious.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a little dark. Quickly. It's too much dark content on here on the light skin perspective.
On the light skin perspective.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that's too dark.
I
know it was funny when she said it.
I kind of feel like I've lost control of all of this.
No, let's get back
that's
on point.
Easy,
rein us back in. Whether we have an agenda.
Yes.
We have things to talk about.
The iceberg tells the Titanic not to worry about it. He's like, "What did I do? Like, I just poked you." So today we have a very interesting episode of the Light Skin Perspective. We have a lot to talk about. This past week, the past 2 weeks, here in Los Angeles, we've had the Netflix as a Joke comedy festival going on. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in comedy in general. Particularly like in my career, things seem to be slowly moving a little bit, but it's been interesting to observe to see where the industry's going. Netflix is a Joke. The festival, it was this huge festival where they basically were booking every single show in Los Angeles. They were booking Dodger Stadium for Gabriel Iglesias. They were booking the Hollywood Bowl for Dave Chappelle, down to the bar show. They were doing like the Dime, like a show, an open mic in the back of a Dime is now like a Netflix show.
Oh snap!
I think so.
The Dime made it to the festival.
Like it was like bar. It was like bar shows, and they were sending out these cubes that said Netflix is a Joke on them, right? I didn't get a chance to do any of the shows. I was at some of the shows. I went to see Dave Chappelle. The night that he was tackled. We talked about that in the last episode. You were there too, Zahra.
I was there. That was a crazy ass.
Where were y'all
moment.
seated?
That shit,
oh my gosh,
crazy.
I was in Jeff Ross, who hosted the show. It's the section that he called the hand job section. Where it's like we were like up in the mezzanine, like in the whatever you call that. It's not nosebleed per se, but like we weren't on the floor. We were like up there. You had to climb the stairs to get up. But we had a great view of everything. But it was crazy when that happened because we're all like looking at each other like, is this part of the show? Like or oh no, he really got attacked. Oh, he tackled them. Oh shit, is that Busta Rhymes running out here? It was just really funny to see a whole bunch of 50-somethings running after a 23-year-old. Like they're like running out of breath. It was wild. It was wild, but like all those guys must be in like a decent amount of shape. It only took like 9 of them to bring that guy down, but they did.
But he can pack a punch. So we were in the.
I would not want to get stomped on by Busta Rhymes. Like they had Jon Stewart stomping him. Like that's insane.
Yeah, not in those diamond-crusted.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's funny as.
It was insane. Like everybody who was on it was a great epic show. Like they had Jimmy Carr, Sebastian, Jon Stewart came out. and Jeff Ross hosted. Like I said, Chris Rock came out. It was like a star-studded, like really
Leslie
amazingly
Jones and Michelle Wolf
talented
as well.
lineup. So I'm,
they.
Oh yeah. Les Dog. And
I mean, they were on.
Michelle
They were
Wolf.
on during the day. So does that really count? I feel like that when the show is happening during the day on Hollywood Bowl, that's like the pre-show to like the show. Because it sounds better when the sun goes down.
Yeah, I mean, we got there when Jimmy Carr was on, so I was sad that I missed the women. But yeah, I mean, like that show went on for like 5 hours. It was a long ass show. So I mean, maybe the guy who attacked him was just pissed that he was there for too long.
So there was that show. I got a chance to go to I got a chance to go to the after party after that show across from the Comedy Store. Then on Saturday, I got a chance to go see John Mulaney. Earthquake was also on John Mulaney's show. That show was almost like 3 hours, but Earthquake went up before John Mulaney. John Mulaney. The funny thing about John Mulaney is that he's so nice that he's almost punchable, and he knows it. So his set is mostly about him going to rehab. He just went to rehab. And there's a part in the show where he actually put his foot up on the speaker, and he smiled. And he said, "Y'all don't have the fucking balls to come up here." He just said it. He spent like 5 minutes. He just waited. He's like, "Yeah, y'all don't have the fucking balls to climb up on this stage and punch me. I fucking dare you." And he just stood there with his chin out, waiting for people to climb up on stage. It didn't happen. But it was a great show. That show was about 3 hours. And then Sunday, there was the final after party, the Netflix Festival final after party at the Comedy Store that I went to. And I will say that for the most part, I enjoyed the parties themselves, and I enjoyed my friends, but I don't really enjoy Hollywood parties. I don't know. Does anyone else?
I don't know, Kenan. You're really like flexing right now. Like I haven't been to enough Hollywood. I haven't been to enough actual Hollywood parties to like comment. I've been to parties, house parties in LA, but like nobody was there. Like, you know, like I didn't have Chappelle or Kim Kardashian or like Lizzo there. Like I've been to one like party where Chappelle was there, and he got everybody drinks. It was a great time and whatever. He spoke to me in Urdu, so he's like a real cool dude, but like I don't really have that experience. And Kenan, you say your career is like slowly picking up. Like if you're at all the Hollywood parties, like people tell you about it, you are in. So
but
yeah. No, it doesn't matter. You got into the parties, and the rest of us who did not get invited into the festival also did not get invited to the parties either,
and complain for like a second. Because I would never do this to people. See, the thing about it is when people move into those type of gatherings, it's like it's usually the people that are like our level or like maybe a tad higher that try to grow into something else. You know what I mean? Like it's always this thing of I'm gonna stand next to somebody famous. And then I'm going to act like I'm a part of this entourage and not like talk to other people, which is very weird. Like it translates into awkward interactions more than it does actually I'm somebody. You know what I mean? I was at the last party I was in. Someone actually thought I was Jordan Peele. Like no joke. Someone thought I was Jordan Peele.
What?
Like not even like. No, it was a black dude.
Is this a white woman?
Sunglasses and a hat and a nice suit, and he was standing there. And the reason I'm saying it's not a joke because he started to pitch me something. I'm standing right there. I'm drinking like a margarita, and he turns to me and he says, "Hey man, I want to put a comedy platform on your platform." And he's pitching me something. He pitches me something, and like halfway, like 3/4 through the pitch, I stop him and I said, "Wait a minute, who do you think I am?" Because I told him my name. I said, "My name is Kenan." And he said, "Aren't you Kenan Peele?" I said, no, I'm Kenan. What's your last name? Floyd? Oh, I know a Kenan. And then they confused me with Kenan Baker. And then they confused me because Kenan Baker has a beard and he's bald. And then afterwards, after he found out I was nobody, then he pointed at my stomach and said I was. He didn't just point. He pointed. He like touched. He pushed his finger in my stomach to tell me I was fat.
Was this person blind and or on the spectrum? Like, I really, because that is just not
I don't know
standard social behavior at all.
Yeah, I did make the.
I mean, there are a lot of comics who are on the spectrum. I'm not gonna lie. Like, even Chris Rock was telling us like last year that he's on the spectrum, and he's just
Very
never
strange.
doing it.
What were you saying, Dr. Lunsford?
I was saying, if it's a spectrum, aren't we all on it? Like, to some extent, I guess, like, for it to be like a spectrum. And then like maybe like he did like a people baby. I do that sometimes where I like merge two people together. Like, what would their baby be? Like, maybe he put like Kenan Ivory Wayans and Jordan Peele together. And as I looked at you this whole time, I'm like, if you took Kenan Ivory Wayans and Jordan Peele and put them together, I think you would be the closest.
He's
thing.
like, this
so
nigga is successful as shit.
Yeah, she's right.
Kenan Ivory Wayans and Jordan Peele. Oh my god! Let me poke his stomach for good luck. It was strange. It was strange.
Kenan, you are the Black Buddha.
Don't worry, guys.
Some would argue Buddha is the Black Buddha.
Don't worry, guys. I'm here. I'm here. The party can start. Everyone.
That's funny.
Tequila on me. Everyone, poke my stomach. So that's something that happened to me.
That's funny. Okay. Well, I'm glad you got into the party just so some random dude can poke you in the stomach.
Poke me in the stomach. No, it's been good. I mean, I've been here in LA for what, going on 5 years? How long have you been in LA, Zahra? 7.
7.
Dr. Lunsford.
Yeah. And I'm still not invited to any Hollywood after party, okay? So it's just, I think as a woman, I just need to give off more of a vibe that, like, I will sleep with you.
No, no, Zahra.
Pretty much.
I'm going to call you when stuff's happening.
Thanks. No, I just, you know what it is? I give off a distinct vibe that I will not sleep with you. So fuck off. And I think that is why I don't get invited to the parties as a woman.
I support that though. See, Zahra and I have been friends since like for 7 years, right? We've been friends for a while. We've been friends since New York, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that has always, I don't want to use the word like attracted, but the thing that I like about Zahra is that Zahra has always been straightforward. She's always been funny. She's always been straightforward. She's always been honest. And you don't find that a lot in comedy. And you also don't find that a lot in a relationship you don't find that, for me, a lot of times, for a lot of people that are of opposite sex or sexual orientation, where it's hard to have like a platonic relationship in comedy because everyone basically expects the worst of comedians, right? So it's almost one of those things where it's like you can actually connect to like a real person who you can get like different perspectives from, which is important in comedy. It's important to actually have perspectives so that it helps you become a well-rounded comedian. And Zahra's just real fun to work with as well. So that's why, Zahra, we're going to all the parties. We're going to all of the parties. Fuck these.
Thanks, Kenan. Let's see. Hopefully, I don't get knocked up by my fiance before the parties, because then my career's really over. They're like, Allie already did the knocked up comedian thing, so you don't need to come to the party. Like, we're
unless you give like professional professional maternity advice or something like that. You be like the
nobody at these parties wants
like
maternity advice.
lady.
STD advice maybe, but not maternity advice. Okay.
Amy Schumer also did it. She decided to pull up her dress and show her stomach for some reason. I don't know. Amy. Anyway. But Dr. Lunsford, you're now visiting Los Angeles. How are you enjoying yourself so far?
It's been fun so far. Listening to you guys like 7 years and years. I'm like 18 hours in. So I feel like I've got like another 36 till I'm like famous. So that's what I'm like looking forward to.
Well, welcome. You're still in that honeymoon period. Just give it about a year.
Oh, I'm only here till Saturday. Like they've got Saturday to snag me, and then I'm like I'm trying a different. I'm pulling up stakes. I'm trying a different place after that.
Oh, are you just here? You're just here for fun?
Yeah, I'm just here for fun.
Actually, good.
We could talk about it later, but Clubhouse, I tumbled in on a Clubhouse wave. I've never really done the Clubhouse meetup kind of thing, but yeah, so I just like came out here and I like it so far. I've been like running into like some good folks and yeah, seeing what it's all
met
about.
Dr. Lunsford on Clubhouse, and it's funny.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I met. Yeah, Dr. Lunsford is a lot sweeter than I expected. Because people's personalities really come through on Clubhouse. It's like social audio. So like we all became friends because we were all part of this huge sleepover that is the pandemic, right? And we were on that app like every day. But now that life is opening up, we're starting to meet each other in person. And we were talking about this before we started recording. Like I still feel the Clubhouse magic when I meet y'all in person. It's like, oh, we're friends. Like we were friends on the app and now we're like it actually translates. It's so fun when Clubhouse friends and fans come to my shows and stuff. It's like, it really created a very supportive community. I love that.
Has it been the same experience for you, Dr. Lunsford?
Well, I just started. So I'm like, this is my first like coming out here. One of my friends is graduating. So I got to come out here I'm coming out there for their graduation. And I guess like technically, Kenan, you probably be like the second person I've met like in life IRL from Clubhouse. Cause like, it was that weird thing where it was like Zahra said, it was like a sleepover, but it was also like kind of strange. It's like, because it's like all these people from all over the world. Like I'm talking to someone from like Hawaii and Denmark and someone that's like from like random college friends would like pop in and you'd be like, what are you doing here, Randy? Like yes, it's me. So so far the meetups have been like pleasant, and I feel like it was just kind of like it was like society's little like social immune system, like safety net for like when everything was so shut in. But like now it's like the world is opening back up, so you can like kind of like make good on some of those connections. Like, are you cool like IRL? Because like you said, like that summer camp vibe, it's like we sat up talking about like existential theory and like why our moms never really listened to us. Like and you don't share some of that like with like even people you're super close with. So
yeah, I mean, I've heard mostly all of the people that I've met on Clubhouse, for the most part, I would say maybe like 8 out of 10 were great experiences. I do think Clubhouse was an escape for a lot of people, but I also think Clubhouse was also like triggering for a lot of people as well. Because I think people kind of, it's like when people start comedy and they haven't dealt with their trauma, they go into comedy and then they just unload everything onto the audience and all the comedians around them. So sometimes people would come on the Clubhouse and they would just unload everything on everybody, and it would get, because there was no real consequence of saying what you felt, right? It's like I'll say something and then people are like, and I could either mute you or I could leave or whatever, right? It's basically like Twitter or Facebook, right? But with all of that aside, because we really built like a comedy community on Clubhouse. There was a lot of people that got into comedy. There's some people that stuck with it. that are now doing it in real life and all that stuff. And I mean, it's nice to see people grow. I mean, I've met people who have performed live and all that stuff. You know, we all still have stuff to learn. But I mean, for the most part, it's always a nice surprise to meet someone and they're cool. Because unfortunately, there's less cool people than I thought. You know what I mean? Like it's like if you're like not annoying or not a little crazy or toxic or whatever, I'm like, oh, this is a pleasant surprise. Would you like to get some ice cream? Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think meeting people on Clubhouse is always 50-50. I mean, I'm the same in real life as I am in Clubhouse. So, grumpy. I'm grumpy on Clubhouse and in real life. So,
well,
none of us are on Clubhouse anymore, though.
Honestly,
well, I've never had the privilege of being.
Wait, Mo, you were.
I never did it. I was never had the privilege of being added.
What do you mean?
You know,
you could have been added. You could have added yourself at some point, but I think we were like kind of back to normal life. That happened.
I'm on. But I think for a while though, it was only iPhone at first, and I had an Android. So
you did that to yourself.
You know what I'm saying? I was not a part of
you did that to yourself.
The privilege. Yeah. It's just another, from what I hear in the YouTube discussions, it's just another room for people to just be ratchet and yell at each other. But maybe I'm just thinking of like the black sector of it or whatever. I just hear like Whack 100 and fucking DJ Academics and Hassan Campbell just arguing with each other. You know, that's all I hear is just, huh? What'd you say?
Yeah, it's called the dark side.
It's
yeah, that's all I. So I'm like, I get enough of that, and yeah, I get enough of that in different Facebook groups and stuff. It's like I want to just hear just more dysfunction and people just sitting around just roasting each other all day. And like, that's the maybe there's a good side. I just haven't seen that. If there was
a light skin perspective on Clubhouse, there would be a problem.
Yeah, it's the total opposite. Yeah.
Who the fuck?
But
there's like, a lot of call out. There's a lot of call out on like people being problematic, when in fact they just have a different point of view. It was crazy. I remember there were like debates, like vax and anti-vax debates, like for COVID, and like I would go on there sometimes and just like listen to the disinformation, and then I would call out the disinformation. Like, do we have any doctors in here? Can we please call in like actual medical doctors into this conversation? Because there's plenty of those people on Clubhouse. Like, y'all don't have to keep talking in circles about things that aren't true. But yeah, like it was wild. It was wild. I think someone blocked me from a room one time because I was promoting the vaccine because my dad passed from COVID, and people blocked me from the room. Legit. I'm like, what is happening here? But I guess every social media app is just, it's like a microcosm of the real world. It's like everybody's on there. So yeah, of course you're going to have people who, want to keep on with the disinformation because they really believe in it and the conspiracies and all of that. And they don't want to be told what to do with their bodies. But then they believe the government when the government's like, yeah, we're going to tell women what to do with their bodies.
Which brings us to, but before we get to the next point, I was in a shoot your shot room, and it was ran by like it was ran by like a relationship woman guru person. And someone was like, I'm in Australia. And then out of nowhere, she's like, how do you feel living in Nazi Germany? And we're like, what? We're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, they forced you to get the vaccine in Australia. That's Nazi Germany. And people were like, whoa, let's like stick to dating. She's like, are you telling me what to do in my room? And I was just like, madam, are you still single? Like, are you okay? Would you like a date? Like, what's happening? This is... You're telling us how.
Wait, you asked this woman out on a date like that? You were trying to take one to the team. Like, listen, this woman clearly needs to get laid. Let me ask her out so she can stop saying Australia is Nazi Germany. Like, you were trying to like.
Shot. I was like,
you were trying to shoot some sense into her, basically.
I was like, I'll take you on a date. As I'm getting shot up by anti-vax bullets. And she's giving advice about how to be in a happy relationship. Good for her. That's amazing. But yes, a lot of things have been happening in the United States the last couple weeks. And now we're getting to it. Last week we talked about Kevin Samuels' death. And according to Twitter, we can't talk about Kevin Samuels without talking about Roe v. Wade. Our good friend Robin Tran said, you know who Robin Tran, Zahra?
Yeah, the trans.
So she made one of the trans comedians, but the same people.
The one of the more successful trans comedians right now.
She was also in the Netflix. She was also in the Netflix festival. Funny, check her out. But she made a tweet that said, "Those that are mourning Kevin Samuels' death are saying nothing about Roe v. Wade." And I said, "That's not true." She said that the same.
You said, "Hold up, say it again because it skipped." What'd you say?
Have not said anything about Roe v. Wade. And since we did a podcast about Kevin Samuels, I don't want to be
those things Twitter have nothing to do with each other now.
And I also want to talk about Roe v. Wade as well. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But apparently the Supreme Court has overturned the case that was Roe v. Wade. It was what was it? In 1973.
I thought. Yes. Hold up.
They have not overturned it yet.
I thought
so
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're not going to know that until June.
Yeah, they have not overturned it yet.
The paperwork has been filed.
Just the paperwork
has been filed.
The paperwork got released. Yeah, exactly.
It was leaked.
But it was leaked.
It was leaked. So now, go ahead.
But it's not finished. It's not finished though. Yeah.
I just want the phrase that the media and everyone is using is that draft opinion by one of the judges that was promoting taking down Roe v. Wade was leaked. And so now the entire country is like in this windstorm of, well, if it happens, what are we going to do? And it's become like a polarizing pro-life versus pro-choice debate. And yeah, we won't know until June when they actually do argue the case. We won't know until they repeal it. So yeah, that's what the media is actually saying. That's the information that we have in case, you know.
So we won't know until June. Now, from what I understand, like you said, it was leaked. Like there was a vote. There was a vote for overturn, and the paperwork has been filed, and it was leaked outside of Congress. So what's going on with the Supreme Court, I think I need to be educated on just a little bit more. What, to you guys, what does this potentially mean for the country? If from your understanding.
Go ahead, Dr. Lunsford.
I would say it's funny, like, let's just kick it back to Clubhouse. I feel like one thing besides the dark side is there's a lot of newsrooms on Clubhouse, and I'm not saying you can go there and like get like all your information. You should like have discernment, but sometimes there will be like authors that have written like New York best selling books about a certain subject. So I was actually in one this morning that was run by, I think, Nina Gregory, who does like news for Clubhouse. So, you know, you like validate your source or whatever. And they had an author that like wrote about Roe v. Wade. And I was actually in there listening this morning. And one of the things that I can say like summed it up for me was something that I've actually, when I talk to my friends, like a fear is like, okay, I get Roe versus Roe v. Wade, like whatever your opinions are on that. But like, what about some other things like voting rights acts or other things that have been like made liberties that we've gotten through the Supreme Court that like, are they going to be chipped away next? And that was actually a question I posed to the author this morning, is that, and his response to that was like, yeah, you're like actually like pretty spot on. Like people are actually starting to look at like Roe v. Wade, and also like what's next, what else is like out there that could be also looked at a repeal. So like I think Roe v. Wade is one thing, but when I talk to people who are like who show concern, I've heard people feel a little overwhelmed of like, well, what else? Because it just kind of things like it could be like something larger than that.
Well, yeah,
That'll be
because from what I understand, like when it came to Roe v. Wade, it was voted in favor of the due process clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which doesn't necessarily have to do with abortion directly, but it has to do with rights to privacy, right? So like for example, the due process clause of the 14th Amendment prohibits state and local governments from depriving persons of life, liberty, or property without a fair procedure. The Supreme Court has ruled this clause makes most of the Bill of Rights as applicable to the states as it is to the federal government, as well as to recognize substantive and procedural requirements that state laws must satisfy. The Equal Protection Clause requires each state to provide equal protection under the law to all people, including all non-citizens within its jurisdiction. The clause has been the basis for many decisions rejecting irrational and unnecessary discrimination against people belonging to various groups. So, if we're looking at something like the 14th Amendment, which, from my understanding, has a lot to do with personal civil rights, like for example, some of the court cases that are actually covered under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution was Brown versus Board of Education, Roe v. Wade, Bush versus Gore. So Brown versus Board of Education was 1954, right? And that had to do with racial segregation in schools, the educational system. Roe v. Wade, what did you say?
Separate but equal.
Yeah.
Zahra saying separate
Roe
but
v.
equal.
Wade was regarding abortion specifically. Bush v. Gore regarding the 2000 presidential election. That was the recount, right? I believe. Yeah, the Florida recount. And then you had and I'm going to fuck this up. Obergefell v. Hodges, 2015, regarding same-sex marriage. So what you're saying is exactly right, because the Roe v. Wade, even though it was talking specifically about abortion, if it's applicable to the 14th Amendment, which is I guess you could say it's like the umbrella of the umbrella over this case, what stops people from going up to that umbrella and then coming back down and saying, okay, all this stuff that we did, we can just get rid of, right? Because if we're talking about something like Bush v. Gore and the recount, remember a lot of people tried to do the same thing with Biden and Trump, right? So could this technically be a way for them to say, okay, well, we don't want the Trump Biden vote thing to happen again, for some people that believe that Trump won the votes, right? So that is an interesting point of I didn't actually think about it that way, the potential of it being like a domino effect to all these other cases that are protected by the 14th Amendment. I mean, I wish I knew more about politics, but I don't know. It's
Well, on the political side, I can talk about that because I have friends who are in politics, who have been mayors of towns or, like very, very involved in the Democratic Party. So I can talk from that perspective. But yeah, I can't tell you like legally what all the implications are, but I think Lindsay and Kenan, you kind of did a good job summing that up of like the 14th Amendment and how other things could be, other laws that have been passed or other freedoms that we enjoy could be affected.
Well, why do you think they're going after Roe v. Wade specifically?
They've been using Roe v. Wade as a political play to essentially pull in and activate the evangelical vote for years, for decades now. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about abortions until Reagan. Nobody cared. And like people were getting legal abortions in the 70s. And then it became this whole play by the Republican Party to pull in the evangelical vote toward the Republican Party. And it's been a political play ever since. So we're up against a midterm election. People are voting for Congress people, senators, mayors. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not Senate, but I know Congress and mayoral elections and local elections are happening this year. So in states where people might have been, I mean, as you all know, in LA, liberal policies have made the city and LA County a mess. And I know San Francisco is dealing with similar things where these liberal policies have just caused the environmental problem that we now have with just welfare of people, unhoused individuals. Petty theft is now like not a misdemeanor. It's a felony for under $900. So people are legit like stealing things left and right, and they're not even getting a summons for it because it's not worth the already limited police force to go after them. So some of us, like, I'm not going to lie, I was considering maybe voting locally Republican, but federally and nationally Democrat, because like I want the local policies to get reined in a little bit because these liberal policies are creating all the problems. Like Kenan, you know this. Your car just got broken into by most likely an unhoused individual, and because there's no laws in place, like the laws that are in place, they basically promote people. Like they basically there's no enforcement for people doing petty theft all over. But now with such a huge policy being at risk, now it's like it's changing a lot of people's shifting mindsets. Like, okay, well now I have no choice. I have to vote liberal. So you know my rights, my broader rights, or the broader rights of people are not at risk. So I mean, it's like it is a political ploy, and also I think Democrats have lost the House, so there's that too. They're just going to continue to polarize us, and it's always going to be like a Republican versus Democrat thing. And it's unfortunate because abortion is it's not a black and white issue. It's very nuanced. Most people, and I've read the statistics on this, like a large majority of the people who get abortions do not want to be in that position where they have to get an abortion, but it is a right that many people have right now, so they're able to exercise it to make very difficult decisions. And unfortunately, in states where they're taking away that right, it's just going to cause a problem for neighboring states that do allow abortion. Like right now, it is very difficult in Illinois to get an abortion because all the neighboring states around Illinois have like a lot of strict restrictions on abortions. So it's like you may be able to make an appointment for an abortion, but it's going to be like right at the cusp of when you're allowed or not allowed. You know, it's going to become really difficult. I think it's just going to create a huge infrastructure problem for us on unwanted pregnancies, and we all know this country does not know how to support, unfortunately, unwanted children and children who are born into homes that can't afford them or environments that are not made for them to thrive.
No,
sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now, but yeah, it's absolutely it's. If you notice, there's always an abortion discussion every time there's an election. Every time. And this is like very severe, but there always is.
Women's rights, and black people. That's it. Every time there's an election, it's, hey guys, we're gonna make sure we have abortion, and hey black people, I like fried chicken with hot sauce. Like, it's like, this is a very weird speech. Yeah, this is a very weird.
No, I got hot sauce in my bag.
I'm trying to learn policies. Like, what's happening? And I think what's happening is, I think you're exactly right. I think they're manipulating us emotionally. They're manipulating us emotionally to get us to do the vote. And then, because, okay, let's put it this way, and this might be my ignorance. Since Biden has gotten into office, and this is no, like, dig at the, because it's the government, it's not necessarily just the president, but not a lot of things on a federal level has been done for black people, on a federal level. Now, individually, that's a whole nother story, but on a federal level. And also, they're still thinking about overturning Roe v. Wade. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean? It's like, it's stuff that's happening. It's stuff that's happening that they told us was not going to happen prior to the election, right? So where does that?
Well, it's also how many judges did Trump replace when he was
like 3 or 4?
He was in presidency. Was it 3
Kavanaugh,
or 4? I don't know, but yeah,
shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Who else? Yeah.
Amy Coney Bryant.
And then and now Biden has appointed 1 so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this is absolutely a strategic play to get ready for future elections, and also to secure. I think it's supposed to secure the Republican vote, because unfortunately, I mean, it makes me really angry, and it's just like the Democrats don't play dirty enough, because they're the ones that are standing on this moral ground, and the Republicans play dirty and they fall in line. So it's always going to be a house divided, because the Republicans are always going to fall in line. So it's either the Democrats have to openly start playing dirty, or, expose themselves, like, yeah, we're not really the moral upstanding party that you all think we are. And a lot of us don't, who know, but there's like a whole like ultra liberal left that are like, yeah, we stand by our party, but that's not, there's too much dissension on the other side, right? Like, the Democrats and the liberals, all of us, like, we just won't fall in line, because we're constantly arguing with each other. And the Republicans, no matter their issues, they're always falling in line. Whether it's evil or not, they're always falling in line. So we gotta really kind of unite. And the Roe v. Wade discussion always tends to unite the Democratic Party, no matter where you are on the spectrum.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say, I was telling Mo before I started here, my background is in public policy and development. So I would say, like, with me, like, kind of how I take it, but also with social change and culture. So, like, where the pulse is. So, like I said, I've only been here 18 hours, but I had enough time to, like, watch the news last night and check out y'all's girl, Alex Cohn, and hear some of her guests. And she was actually interviewing the leader of the Republican, I guess, like, party or something like that. I can't remember their exact position. And they're, like, talking about their, like, roadmap. Like, what do they plan to do? Actually, she was interviewing, I believe it was, like, the past person. And he was talking about, like, kind of what the future, I believe now it's a woman, like, what her path forward looks like. And it's like, yeah, like, the chances of, like, Democrats, like, taking over might not be there. But he was, like, saying, like, you have to put your limited resources, like, where they are, so that you can have, like, most of an impact. So it's like, definitely you can actually see on the news, like, Republicans wanting to, like, move and organize, like, around, like, maybe not just these issues, but, like, this current climate. But one of the things I think that it really tips to me is just, like, so, like, kind of like the why now. Like, it kind of feels like, there's, like, so much, like, yes, of course, like, with the elections, what's going, like what's going on. And this is just like another, like, kind of like talking point. But one of the things I thought, not saying talking point, but like another new point in like the public, like what's going on in the world, right? And I think, and also that like, I feel like we keep getting shocked as a people, as a culture, like stuff that you thought could never freaking happen. Or maybe that's just like the millennial. Like I heard you with the deep side part, Zahra. Like maybe that's just the millennial when you like reach that point in life where it's like all this stuff keeps happening, but it's like the pandemic was rocking. And now I'm thinking something as foundational as like Roe v. Wade could be upended. I think that that's like definitely doing something to the overall social milo, like the overall social conscious, like where people are. But one of the things I think is interesting too about other states, so like I believe the issue's over the way that the right to privacy is interpreted, right? So in the state of California, like I saw some lawmakers were talking about, it's not, Roe v. Wade wouldn't affect California if I'm not mistaken, because the way that the right to privacy is interpreted in this state, mm-hmm. You're still going to be able to have abortions, right? So it's just like, what does that like kind of mean here? And then me coming from personally living in like a really deep red state, like our ads are like totally different. Like when I like kind of watch the ads on TV. So it's like kind of interesting to see like what Zahra said, will these places become beacons of light for like people that want to come? And then also like, how will it like kind of play out? And it's also really scary because I was listening to the social profile of who actually gets an abortion. And they're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, a woman who's like in her later 20s, who's already had a kid, who is like basically trying to not saying make it, but like basically navigating a difficult decision. So I think like kind of when you hear some of those like kind of profile facts about like what the person looks like, that's facing this, I think it becomes really interesting. So I think it's just like one of those things where it like it is really determined by where you are. And my last point on this, because I saw a lot, I was watching the news, you all, Oprah has a documentary coming out called The Color of Care. And I thought this was really interesting because I really am concerned about Black women when it comes to this abortion thing, this whole abortion crisis, because, or I would say what people may call a crisis. And I think it's so funny when I think, coming from the South and being a Southern scholar, some people might not know about something called like what they used to call a Mississippi appendectomy, which were like forced sterilizations and forced abortions that were, kind of not just abortions, but just like forced sterilization of women. So I feel like, to me, it's so interesting when we look at like the history of like state agendas on the reproduction of people, and especially like women. And then the last point on that, going back to Oprah's documentary, The Color of Care, I really wonder how it's going to play out for Black women and women of color, who already have limited access to healthcare, or face barriers. Also, like you look at like the mortality rate, the maternal mortality rate, like of especially like African American women, Black women. So it kind of like just worries me. Like, do we have the infrastructure in place in all the areas for this and for the outcomes of when certain women try to, like, God forbid, do like the coat hanger, shout out in Zahra, in Shange, like that kind of stuff. Like if that comes up, will we have the medical structures in place to take care of these bodies?
First, I want to shout out to my girl Akima Moore. She works with me at my company, Dangerously Awkward. She's a producer on The Color of Care, by the way. So thank you for mentioning that. But shout out to you, Akima. We were mentioning your movie. Dr. Lunsford mentioned your movie on this pod. Shout out to her. She's amazing. Check her out. All that shit. But yeah, Mo, go ahead. What were you saying?
Nice. No, she was just touching on things that I was thinking, as far as like the adverse effect of it. When you make something like this illegal, people are still going to do it. Like people, or when you overturn this, people are still going to take matters into their own hands, and I think it's just going to cause a lot more harm to individuals trying to feeling desperate and just trying to get these surgeries done underground or doing it themselves or what have you. And like And I didn't even think of what she was saying as far as will there be enough infrastructure like for all these people that hurt themselves? You know, like the residual of the residual effect of that, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Um, the elderly people.
Yeah, but go ahead. Go ahead.
He left.
Will.
Is he still here? I don't see him. Oh, so Mo was saying, why are all these elderly white men
Clarence Thomas
telling us what we can do with our bodies? And
let's not forget.
Yeah, the elderly people. That's what I'm saying. The elderly white men who are dictating what we do with our bodies. They've always. This is a problem. Like they've always used Roe versus Wade as their political strategic play. They're like, okay, let's throw Roe v. Wade in there. Like this is always, and it's like, it's not going to work. It can't work this time. Like they keep doing it because this is what they've always done. And they've been doing it for like decades. By the way, like I'm all for having a retirement age in Congress and in any political office. Like there is no reason why 70-year-olds and 80-year-old white men should be making laws and legislation when they're senile, you know? But
that's what
and they can't relate. Like I'm sorry, if you can't relate to the bulk of the population that you're making legislation for, you should not be allowed. It's just it really sucks. But
I totally agree, man.
But the old white men are doing this because it's what they've always done. And unfortunately, they have not been taken down or been voted out of office. And they keep getting reelected because they represent, they know what strategic buttons to push to keep their office or to keep their position. And also, unfortunately, there aren't really viable candidates that run it against them that are successful enough to really beat them and win over their constituents. So that's why you end up with I'm sorry if I'm dropping F-bombs, but that's how you end up with Mitch McConnell from Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't even, like, compared to the population of California, Kentucky should not even be on the map. But you have a leader like Mitch McConnell on the Republican Party who is dictating legislation or is forging ahead with the Republican Party's agenda. And that's what makes this country and our legislation and all of that really unfair.
And it's not like they're on a moral. It's not like they're morally superior either, because even though they're voting to overturn Roe v. Wade, child marriages are legal in 44 states, which is what.
Yeah, it's the Republican Party and the evangelicals, they continue to contradict themselves all the time. Like it's always a circular argument with them, and it is unnerving.
When you think about
it is really unnerving.
What I just said, it's like you really try to figure out where people are in life, and the reality is that most people are still in the past. Most people wish that this was still the 1800s, where you could marry, you could marry a 14-year-old or whatever, raise your family and all that stuff, because it's that traditionalism that runs in their family, and what they do is they bring it into legislation, and that's why there's a lot of stuff that a lot of us sane people see, and we're like, well, there seems to be emphasis on this, but there's not crackdown on trafficking. You know what I mean? There's not really crackdown on trafficking, but they're trying to, but we're talking about abortion, right? So it seems to be that a lot of people are stuck in the past. They want to control people. That's what they want to do. They want to control people hook or by crook. And that's why I think they manipulate us emotionally so that we're caught up in the media, and we're blinded by our anger or by our sadness that we don't really see what's really going on.
Yeah, but also we're not blinded. I think we're very emotionally driven. You're right. They do like push. They try to manipulate us based on our emotions. I think why the old white men who are changing policies, I don't think they realize why this is not going to work, and why, like, eventually we're going to have a huge political uprising. Like, if we are getting to, I really think in our lifetime, all of us are going to see, we're going to see it. There is just going to be a complete breakdown and an uprising. I mean, we saw it with the Black Lives Matter movement. We saw like a lot of reckoning happening of just people fed up. And I think what they're seeing now, I mean, I'm pretty sure the old white men who are trying to control this situation, they're using all their old tactics. What they don't realize is that there is a labor shortage because the workforce does not want to take those jobs, and they're trying to do immigration reform, so therefore there aren't people here who want to take those jobs. People are millennials, we're not reproducing, we're not putting new workforce out there, we're not getting pregnant in the same rate as we used to, so they're really trying to force people to make the workforce, because we're on the decline. And if they continue with their immigration reform policies, if we continue on this path where people have the right to choose and not have the unwanted pregnancies, this is their, I mean, this has always been their strategic way to keep people in this circular, in the cycle of poverty, in their cycle where they have to live paycheck to paycheck. And unfortunately, they're going to see that there's an educated population now. We're well informed. We talk to each other. Social media has been a big asset for us to mobilize. And I really think it's going to be a huge uprising, and they continue to polarize us. So I think there's going to be people on both sides. But yeah, I really think it's going to get really bad before we're able to see any real change towards progress and safety and all of that. If we could keep making jokes about it, which we will, people always have survived the downfall of civilizations, but I really don't think America is going to be great again for a long time, not in the way that it was. And hopefully it will change for the better, but it's going to get a lot worse if these laws actually
you want to say
get
something,
repealed.
Dr. Lunsford?
Well, no, I want to like feed off of some of the comments Zahra said. That was really rich. Thank you for that. I would say, to the point of like Nero fiddling while Rome burns, like as we tell our jokes, like all this is happening around us. I think 2 points that I want to highlight that are important, like kind of going back to what I was saying with the Mississippi appendectomies, or the forced sterilization of Black women, and also brown women and other women, especially in the South. That goes right to what Zahra was saying about like legislation controlling, doing like population control, like and it maybe not that being sanctioned. So you have like de jure and de facto. So you have the things that are legally done, and then things that are like backdoors, like kind of done. So you have this history of like where Black populations were outnumbering other white populations. People, like, forced sterilizations were happening, so that way the population would be lower, and so that way you could have social control. So like the fact that this actually, I bring that up to people because like the thought of people be like, what, the government trying to control our birth, like that's some like 1984, like that could never happen. But like think about it on the local town like kind of level, like that's like that. So that's one thing I wanted to highlight. And then why I bring it back to history, it's really important because, so we talk about the old white men ruling the world now, but I also, like, for feminism, it's a lot of women, or it's a lot of women doing stuff too. So like, yeah, there's some cartel, like, not to like put it like that, like the villain is always the cartel, but it's some like lady bosses out here doing that too.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But I would say,
hell yeah,
ghost too, right? So like people forget about the ghost of people. So like with public policy, it's not just today. Like the plans are usually like 50 years in advance. People are planning. Like, you always hear like the millennial goals, and you're hearing like the 2050 sustainability. So things are done 50 years in advance. So like we're literally living through some of the things that like ghost of like people that died 30 years ago set out.
Ronald Reagan is the cause of so much of the bullshit that we're going through right now. And y'all can just Google it, but yeah, we're living through the mistakes that the Reagan administration made, and we continue to do that.
They the ones that introduced crack in the 80s, like sanctioned that shit. Drop weapons in neighborhoods and stuff. You know.
Well, it's. Oh, go ahead. No.
And then have the whole. Then you have the whole opioid epidemic, which is like, oh, we've got clinics where you can come in here, and it's a whole nother like conversation on drugs. But I just wanted to end and say, like, it's when it comes to like, it's like they say the ghost of Christmas past. It's really the ghost of policies past that like we're actually like living through right now. And so it's really interesting the things that are being set today are how much they're going to affect our grandchildren. And it like sounds weird because it's like so hard for us to do things today, but it's like I just want to like kind of think about the long arm. When you talk about laws and policy, it's just like the past and so much.
And it's interesting. It's interesting too what you mentioned about you know, like Black people, we have a very complicated history to these policies, right? You touched on this, Dr. Lunsford. You know, there has been record of Margaret Singer. I'm sorry. Is it Singer? I'm sorry. Sanger. My bad. She can sang.
Sanger.
Margaret Sanger.
Yeah.
She was singing. She was a singer.
But there's a documentary that Margaret Sanger was.
I love Negro humor.
There is documented history that Margaret Sanger was racist.
She was like a eugenist,
which
right?
Again goes back to this complicated history of we support. You know, there's a lot of us that support a lot of Black people that support pro-choice. But there's also that with all American history, there's always that complication of, well, Margaret Sanger was also trying to like get rid of us, like with Planned Parenthood and eugenics.
Yeah, for sure.
So you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's what I wish we did when we came to these things. I wish both things could be true at once. Haven't you noticed that? Like when we do a lot of movements, it can only be like one thing, you know, like you don't, well, this happened. Oh no, we're not, we need to move forward with this. Right. And it's interesting because those type of things do still affect us today as Black people. I mean, I think that's why a lot of Black people on issues like this are split because of the racist history of how it came about. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of medical procedures that that are successful now because they were experiments in Nazi Germany. You understand what I'm saying? We got to the moon because of the technology that the Nazis developed. You know what I mean? So it's like everything that we've used to move forward has this complicated history of oppressing somebody. Go ahead, Dr. Sanger. Yeah. Dr. Sanger. Dr. Lunsford. Sorry.
No. No.
Sanger.
I was just going to say complicated history. Let's get into it. Wake it up. Let's talk about J. Marion Sims, the father of gynecology, who like people don't know the modern speculum. If vaginas make you feel weird, come on, like we're going to go there. But like the speculum was like made from 2 bent rusty spoons in his experiment farm where he literally experimented and tortured enslaved women. And that's how he experimented on them, because it's this common to this day. There's so much medical misconception. Like, you know, it's a common thing that people that like med students don't think Black skin is thicker, or they don't give the same amount of pains because they think Black people, like for people thought Black people couldn't get COVID until dude from Utah, Jack, got it.
Yeah.
And then
oh my god,
we was bragging about that. We was bragging about that shit. I'm good. I ain't got no COVID. I'm still going to the mall and the beach, nigga. And then he just died.
And then Rudy Gobert. So I'm just saying. So like to end here, not to be long-winded, I'm just saying. So for Black women in general, knowing that the field of medicine, gynecology, if you're not familiar, like the story of J. Marion Sims, like he went from experimenting and torturing, like on some, I'm talking his journals, he was like stabbing baby heads and like rearranging their skulls. I know it's graphic, but it's real, right? He went from doing that to being one of the most respected physicians of modern medicine and only operating on princesses and presidents, all from practices he learned from torturing on Black women. So it's complicated, like the whole like history. But I think, like you said, Kenan, if you tell it all, so that way people can make informed decisions. Because the same people that might be screaming no abortion might not want to hear the whole story on Margaret Sanger, or might not want to talk about eugenics, because that, like, then we start tipping on like
the reason I think it's important because usually a lot of groups want our support when it comes to these movements, because we come out in droves, right? When we support, right? But a lot of times what happens is that when you ignore the history, it's kind of hard for us to be. Are you printing a whole?
Most printing a screenplay right now on Margaret Sanger.
Margaret Sanger is a musical.
Most Sanger. Typing. We hear them typing. All right, let me get these pages out real quick before. But
no, I was fucking. I was trying to print something. I was trying to be discreet.
That's
I guess
it is.
We know.
Yeah. My bad. I'm gonna stop this. I'm doing a terrible job of printing.
Most doing his taxes right. While we're on this podcast. He's just like, I'll mute. I was trying to multitask. My bad.
And I would argue it's not a privilege to have a printer. It's a privilege to have ink in your printer. I know people with printers and no ink.
And it's actually cheaper to buy a printer instead of coming back to buy ink cartridges. Because you can buy a printer for $40 and ink cartridges are $55.
Yeah.
Every time I run out of ink, I just buy a new printer.
They're like $60, yo.
Just get a laser printer. Get a laser printer.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a big upfront cost, but you're never gonna need to buy ink and toner.
Just don't buy toner from Staples.
You'll all be fine.
What happened when the laser break though? What happens when the laser breaks?
What, Mo? What are you doing?
Is the laser beam like bulb? Is the bulb replaceable?
Were you sitting on your laser printer? Like, what are you doing with that thing? Those things are like so hard. You just leave it in its place.
I don't know. I mean, stuff gets old. Stuff breaks.
It sounds like your girlfriend's taking a bat to your printer. Like, what's happening over there? Like,
but if you don't use it a lot, that destroy it too.
No.
Yeah, stuff just doesn't work when you don't.
Oh my God, you think so highly of me I say you think so highly of me to say I have a girlfriend. You see this room? What woman would want to claim me as hers in a blue room?
There's women fucking
bullshit posters
and Supreme Court justices that are trying to overthrow Roe v. Wade. So I think you can get a girlfriend.
What's up, man? Yo, this women getting pregnant by dudes in jail.
White. Shout out to Vicky
That's
White.
pretending to be women.
That ride or die chick. Shout out to her. Whatever you guys from Alabama. Shout out to Alabama. What?
Yeah, that too. Right.
Yes. And then she went to Indiana, where I'm also from. So I was like, Vicky, like, you knew the spot. Like, you were going from here to
She left the job.
She was making her round. But
so
someone fill me in on Vicky White. I'm trying to
correction officer that let out this murderer. She let out this what was he, a manslaughter murderer, and they escaped together. He must have had a big penis or something like Jesse Williams, because
he's 6'9".
Isn't he? Hold up though. Is he like? He's like 6'9". Yeah, he's like a tall.
He's taller than
you can't sneak around and be 6'9". Yeah. How you gonna be how you gonna be inconspicuous if you 6 foot? If you almost 7 feet tall? Like, sure. Hope they don't notice me.
Here we go. Here's my girl.
What?
Here's my girl, Vicky. Oh, Vicky White and Casey White. Here's my girl right here. She
looks like Dog the Bounty Hunter's deceased wife.
So she broke him out because he's a ride or die, and they escaped. They made it up to Indiana, and
So
their romance was so passionate that they were cornered, and she ended up Thelma and Louising herself, and Casey went back to jail.
damn.
Well, or Bonnie and Clyde halfway, because he was like, I'm not gonna. He didn't do it. He was like, I can serve the time. Like he went back. He went back.
So
unbelievable.
That's crazy. Yeah. We got women that have the willingness to break dudes out of prison, and I can't even get a text back from the most undesirable.
I will
that's
say,
true.
I will say,
height will give you a pass for everything.
The things you're willing to do for a tall man, honestly, like I'm marrying a DJ in 3 weeks.
That's crazy
because he's 6 foot. He's 6 foot tall. You know, like the things you're willing to do. I'm just saying.
I'm 1 inch. I'm 1 inch. I'm an inch and a quarter away from being 6 feet. That sucks balls.
There's operation.
I gotta wear the Timberland. I gotta wear like my tip. Yeah, I know they could break your legs and make it longer. Like that's crazy.
LLL.
You know what I'm saying? They break your femur and they somehow.
Yeah, but you could you could risk losing like a quarter of an inch or a half an inch too. That might be it's happened. It's happened to people.
That's what I'm saying. I'd rather just
shorter.
You could. If something goes wrong, it's a complication. Yeah. So you could end up being shorter.
Yo, Keisha,
it's not really worth the risk.
I'd rather just put the lifts in a 2-inch lift in my insoles. Boom, I'm 6 feet.
You know,
or some Timberlands with the thick heel.
I dated a short guy for a few years, and this is my biggest mistake: is that he always used to tiptoe in pictures, and I'm like, I can't be with a man who has to tiptoe in pictures. Like that's like.
He has to tip to his
I'm like, I just, it just.
That's crazy. He's like,
no, he was taller than me, but when I wore like my usual 4, 5, 6 inch heels because I'm a short woman. We were, the same height. Yeah. So
anyone
he used to
Zahra
tiptoe in pictures.
Brad Williams. That's.
I find that hilarious when like chicks be like
What happened?
No, that's hilarious. No, I find it hilarious when like chicks be like 4'11". Chicks be like 4'11", talking about I don't mess with a man unless he's 6 feet. I'm like, chick, you 4'11", man. Everybody is 6 feet to you.
No, that's Darwinism, man. Like this is the problem. Y'all don't understand. Us short women.
I get it.
For the tall guys, because that's the only way our kids are going to be tall or like make it in society. You know what I mean? We're trying. The short ends with me, hopefully.
On a subconscious level, but on a surface level, they just think tall is sexy. You know what I'm saying? On a surface level, but subconsciously, that makes sense.
Tom Holland got Zendaya.
Look up what?
Maybe because he's also Spider-Man and rich, but he's shorter than Zendaya.
He's a celebrity too, though. Like that's that. Once you got bread and you on that level, that height shit go out the window. Yeah, but that height stuff goes out of the window once you on a certain level. You understand, and you get money like that. I've seen some of the most gorgeous women with some of the most derelict looking undesirables.
Okay, so
only because they had the cash.
I want everyone to know that Bo actually does get women in Connecticut. He gets women. He gets. I don't want people to think I'm doing a podcast with a loser. He gets women in Connecticut. Everybody, he gets women in Connecticut. He's batting them off. He's batting them off with a bubble wand. He's trying. It's too much.
Yo, I will say ever since I dropped that 40 pounds, it's been different, bro. I was like, really? That's all I needed was like a slightly slimmer body for y'all to like me more. Like I'm the same guy. I just like my BMI is just lower. Really, that's all I had to do. my hinge is lit.
Well, congratulations. You figured it out. You just have to not be fat.
I think
you did.
I mean, reputation. He gets women, everyone.
Yeah, that's all really. Just
I mean, this is a very
I should have developed very easy. I should have developed this.
Yeah, all you have to be is taller than 5'8",
really?
and not have man titties, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
you'll
and
be
less
fine.
than 250. Yeah.
If your titties are bigger than mine, it's gonna be really hard to get laid. Okay, like that's all. That's all. Just don't have titties bigger than the women you date.
Unless you can sing. Because Broadway can sing. And I feel like
I can,
get that soulful. If you can sing, I feel like big dudes be singing sometimes and they be singing bitches. Oh, I shouldn't say it like that. Excuse my language. But
Who was that? Who was that big dude singer?
No, you said the right word. You said the right word. Yeah, I like you. Like you said the right word.
They be singing. I feel like the big dudes be singing, but
who? Ruben Studdard
from Alabama.
Studdard? Yeah. Oh,
you said big singer.
Who's Sean Kingston?
Yeah.
You know, big dude had man titties. Was getting
You're much too beautiful, girl. That's why it'll never work. They'll have you suicidal.
We got light-skinned, skinny Sean Kingston over here. All right. We just set that up for Mo.
Song,
Mo's gonna get laid. Mo's gonna get laid off this podcast episode.
That was a millennial Negro spiritual moment.
Yeah,
I was like, sometimes you gotta go with it.
Well done.
That's a great song, man. Great song, man.
To wrap this up, go ahead, Dr. Lunsford.
No, I was gonna say, Kenan. Oh God. You left a couple key details out of that Vicky White story. I remember, if I'm not mistaken from memory, not only did she, because I saw these memes, people were like, if you don't love me like Vicky, if you're not willing to bust me out of jail, sell your house for $130,000 under market value, and buy a car and pick me up and tell them that you're sick and call off work.
Yo, hold up. So between the advice that women or men want they chick to be like that, and women want they man to be like Will Smith smacking dudes over nothing. Like this is just a bunch of dysfunctional relationship advice that we're getting here. So we're gonna have a bunch of short-tempered dudes and crazy women that's gonna break niggas out.
Stop. I feel bad for your social media algorithms if that's the type of women that you're seeing. Like the opinions that you're seeing on your social media, because most of us.
No, I'm just bouncing. I'm bouncing off of what she's. I'm just parallel.
We were anti Will Smith.
I'm just parallel.
I've saved both sex appeal, and now it's crashing.
Yeah. No, I'm just.
Go ahead, Mo.
I just see a parallel. No, I was literally just tagging what she was just saying. That's all I was just tagging.
It just seems like fluctuating. We don't know how this is going to end for Mo, honestly.
This is like a Peloton ride.
I'm legit tagging what she said. I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just tagging what she said because what she said. I didn't hear that, and it just reminded me of the female version of what they was. I was feeling like Will Smith punching celebrities. Like, damn, we can't be together. I'm like, damn, I gotta take karate class and like, you know what I'm saying, and then ignore all the lessons that tell me to be disciplined and restrained. That's what I got. You know what I'm saying?
I will tell you.
Tagging her joke. I don't believe any of that stuff.
I will tell you from one perspective, which is a popular perspective. Please don't punch a comedy legend for your woman. Just don't do it. Don't do when he's doing his job at an award show. Don't do it. Don't put your career on the line to punch to punch any famous person. I
will say though, as low as my career is right now, that would probably be the thing that takes me to the next level. Like I remember I saw like
nah, bro, like that's what Chappelle's Attacker was probably thinking at the like, Netflix as a joke festival.
Nah, but it wasn't even on stage. It was just at the it was upstairs at the Comedy Cellar, and I was just joking with my boy Cliff. I was like, yo, if I just punch home right now, I'll
be in jail.
So I was just joking, just jokingly. But every now and again, I'll keep mentioning that.
Mo,
nowadays, like a lot of people do that, have that mindset that they don't have the skills or the patience to get to a certain level.
To Kentucky,
yeah. They break me out. There you go. There you go. So
the way I want to wrap this up is still controversial, but we did talk about the complicated history of Black people have with all these movements to move America forward, right? And this is one tweet that I saw. Mm-hmm. This is one tweet that I saw when they first brought up that when it was first leaked that they were overturning Roe v. Wade. Right? So this is the tweet that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, so the tweet says, I do wonder how these white supremacist lawmakers would feel if their little white daughters were R and I by black men, right? And at first, I was like, man, that's fucked up. I'm over here minding my own black business, and I'm being brought into this conversation, so I have to say something about it, right? But when I actually started researching the actual case of Roe v. Wade, I think that what she said was actually on brand.
Oh my gosh.
Do you guys know a lot about the Roe v. Wade case? The case itself?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was just like a fake name. It wasn't actually, nobody's name was actually Roe or Wade.
Nah.
But I thought the woman that it was actually for, right. She was like on her 4th pregnancy. But I don't remember hearing that she was impregnated by a black man. I just know that she ended up getting pregnant.
Her name,
her friends suggested that she was raped by black people to propel it. Yeah.
Norma McCorvey, yeah. And then she switched sides. She switched sides eventually to be pro-life because the women who were pro-choice that like decided to spearhead her case to Supreme Court, they were just doing it to use her as the mascot. And basically, it took so long that she wasn't able to get the abortion. She was only in it for the abortion.
Park of abortions, basically. That's basically, no disrespect to Rosa Parks, but that's basically how they were trying to use her. And you're right. She eventually became an evangelical Protestant, but it turns out that Norma McCorvey, she took on the pseudonym Jane Roe instead of Jane Doe. Jane Roe, and became the plaintiff in the Roe v. Wade case, right? And for her, she was white trash. I mean, she was poor. She was poor white trash. That's what happened. She was married at 16 against her will. She was born in Louisiana, grew up in Texas, Houston specifically. She went to state school in Gainesville, Texas. She was married to an older man, and at the age of 16, gave birth to her first child, Melissa, in 1965. Then Norma had severe addiction to alcohol and drugs. She identified as a lesbian around that time, and it eventually happened that her mother ended up adopting her first child because she was all over the place. They didn't feel that she was mentally stable and all that stuff, right? So then she
was also a victim of like rape throughout her childhood. She was like molested. She had a lot of issues. She was just not really properly taken care of as a child and was a troubled adult because of that, was married at the age of 16. Her her older husband used to abuse her as well. She ended up leaving that marriage, but she ended up getting pregnant like 3 more times after that or something like that.
She had another baby girl. She put that child up for adoption. And then when she was 21, the third time, and this brings me back to the tweet, the third time she got pregnant. And this is the pregnancy that sparked the Roe v. Wade case. And now this is where the tweet comes in. And this is Dr. Lunsford. This is what we were talking about the complicated history of black people and these movements. Because so she came back to Dallas and she's like, yo, I want to get an abortion. So her friends advised her to falsely say that she was raped by a group of black men. Because apparently that's the only way you can get a legal abortion in Texas. So instead of her saying, you know what, that's racist, I'm not going to do that, she did it. She told people that she was raped by a group of black men, or as Mel Gibson likes to call it, a pack of N-words. And there was not enough evidence to support her claim. So then it became revealed it became revealed that she just wanted to get an abortion,
Yep.
and then that's when the Roe v. Wade. Henry Wade was a district attorney. He was the district attorney who made abortion illegal in Texas. So he's the Wade in the conversation. And by time the case was over, she already had the baby and gave the baby up for adoption, right? So do you guys know, for the audience, do you guys know how long the Roe v. Wade case took place? How long the trial was? It was 3 years, so it was a 3-year
No,
case.
how long? Oh my God, crazy. You know what's crazy is that I learned about Norma. NPR did a whole thing on the origin of Roe v. Wade and brought up Norma. NPR did not mention once anything about her lying and saying that she was raped by a black man.
Wow.
Not once. Like that entire part of the story was conveniently left out, I guess we could say.
But again, the reason I bring it up, and sorry, trigger warning for everybody, but the thing about it is that's the complicated history I'm talking about. That's the complicated history I'm talking about. So I'm saying if we're going to discuss the story, let's discuss it across the board. Let's say everything. The reason I think that we need Roe v. Wade is because selfishly, I don't want anyone accusing innocent black men of some bullshit so that they can get an abortion. I want black men to be safe. Yeah. So that's why every black man in America needs to support Roe v. Wade so we can stay in our neighborhoods minding our own black business, playing spades, dominoes, doing podcast. What?
2K?
2K? Uno?
2K?
Eating barbecue chicken? Whatever.
2K. Uno.
Support.
Barbecue chicken.
Riding skateboards.
We have to get our
doing Obama impressions.
We have to get this law passed to protect our black brothers. It's too many niggas being accused of things they haven't done because they've overturned the Roe versus Wade. So I propose we give these ladies permission to suck it out if they're going through troubling times. God bless you and God bless America.
I mean, we stupid. Unfortunately, we had to be.
I had to get one impression in shit, and Kenan's he's just done.
We had to take 3 minutes to be ratchet on this podcast before we had a great enlightening discussion, and now we just tanked the whole fucking episode.
Of course, man. The light skin perspective is a fun place.
Any closing thoughts before we wrap
up? Dr. Lunsford was like, yes. Dr. Lunsford was like, yes. This is so fun. I'm having the greatest time of my life. Pass me my martini, please. Thank you very much.
Why do you make Dr. Lunsford sound like a cross between Eartha Kitt and Scar from The Lion King?
Because she's a doctor. When you're a doctor, you are not tempted by the proclivities of humans. As a matter of fact, I stepped down from my throne to deal with you peasants, and I will be off in my 19th hour here on the light skinned perspective.
I had no idea. Mo's impressions were not on the agenda, and I feel like they should be going forward, so we can be prepared.
I always do.
All right, this woman needs permission to go back to wedding planning. So
Zahra,
all right, no doubt.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Where can we find you again?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was wonderful meeting you, Dr. Lunsford. Mo, always a pleasure. Kenan, thank you. Y'all can find me at really Zahra.
Mm-hmm.
Zahra is spelled Zahra on all the social media things, except for LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come looking for me on LinkedIn, please.
Hey,
Anyway,
Dr. Lunsford, where can
Thank
we find you?
Well, you really can't. It's better to like have your people hit up my people, and then we could like think about hitting it up, because you're good and I'm good. But or just DM Mo Green. Mo, tell him DM Mo, and then he'll get at you to get at me. And then if you actually do that, we'll have the greatest conversation. So if you really want to hit because I just want it to be really, I like to trickle it down. So where like only the most dedicated people that are like, I really want to talk to you, get to me. So like no information, but if you DM Mo and Mo DMs Kenan and Kenan DMs the subsidiary and then they hit me up, all right, I got you. We can see what the fuck you want. Excuse my language, but yeah, no, it's been a pleasure being here and getting to meet y'all. And yeah, just up there in the clouds, standing on piles of books, riding my Peloton, pretending to be how Mo imagines me to be. But this was fun. And it was fun meeting you, Zahra. And
Mo, real quick, where can they find you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You want to do the TikTok thing? You said you're getting into TikTok, Zahra. You want to do the
are we on that side? I don't know which side you're on. Because in my thing, you're below me, so it would be like I don't know. I don't think it's gonna work.
Yeah, that was awkward. Comedian Mo Green on all platforms. That's it.
And yes, again, everyone, thank you for joining us. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Light Skin Perspective LSP Cast on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure you comment. We want to hear your thoughts on the subject we're talking about. Get the conversation going. Hit that bell every time a new video comes out. And again, if you want to see me live, you can check me out at the Ontario Improv May 22nd through the 24th. Sorry, May 20th through the 22nd. Ontario Improv with Dean Edwards. Ontario Improv May 20th to the 22nd. I will be in Marietta, California, May 28th, and I will be in Houston, Texas, at the Houston Improv, June. I'm really bad at this. June 17th through 19th. June 17th through 19th. June 17th through 19th at the Houston Improv with Godfrey. You can go on the Houston Improv website, get your tickets. Ontario Improv, get your tickets. Follow me on social media, Kenan J. Floyd, Kenan, J to the Floyd as in pink on all social media platforms. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Light Skin Perspective. Everyone have a good afternoon, evening, week.
See you later, man. Peace.